Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Alison. I write as Alison May, 50% of Juliet Bell, and most recently as Sinclair. And here on YouTube I talk about writing craft and the publishing industry and all things related. If that sounds up your street, please subscribe to the channel and please drop me a comment below if there's anything in particular you would like me to discuss here. I have got 1 bar of battery life left on my camera, so I'm going to talk fast and hope it lasts to the end of this video. Today we are talking about money, because sometimes in publishing it really is about the money. And I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit and just give you a very brief little rantaroo about the way that publishing pays. That's not an elegant sentence. If I was writing that down I would edit it later. I'm going to talk about the way publishing pays authors contributes to how publishing and writing can be tricksy careers for people who aren't already independently wealthy, don't have any good income from somewhere else, don't have a well-off and supportive father slash mother slash partner slash trust fund slash whatever. So the way that money works in publishing for authors essentially is that you are paid royalties. So you are paid a percentage of the money that comes in for every book that you write that is sold. What that percentage is will vary from publisher to publisher. Generally speaking, it's somewhere in the 30-40, if you're really lucky, 50% range for ebooks, and somewhere more in the 8, 10, 12, 15% range for paperbacks. That varies massively, but those are sort of ballpark figures. Very often that percentage is paid on the money that the publisher gets from the retailer, so the wholesale price effectively, rather than the retail price. But again, that varies from contract to contract. But that gives you a ballpark figure of the sort of money that authors get paid. And because it's a royalty and you're paid it based on books sold, you don't see any of that money until after the books have sold. Now, in some ways that's obviously fair enough. Any business that is predicated on you creating a product and selling that product, you don't see income from it until the product sells. However, if it's solely your own business and you're not going through a publisher, you potentially see income on that product as soon as it sells. So you hand the product to your customer, the customer hands you a big wad of cash, and you now have a big wad of cash. In publishing, things aren't necessarily so straightforward. So historically, going back through the mists of time, publishing was terribly Victorian and everything was done accounting-wise by writing figures with a quill pen in a big ledger. Generally speaking, authors would be paid 6 monthly. So you would write a book, you would make a contract with the publisher to publish the book, they would do edit, cover design, all of that stuff. The book would come out. The book would come out potentially a year or 18 months after you'd made that initial contract, which might be 2.5 or 3 years after you've actually started writing the book. And then because you get paid 6 monthly, and it's 6 monthly, very often 3 months in arrears, it might be 9 months after the books come out before you see your first income from it. So from sitting down to write a book, say that takes a year, you then sell it to a publisher, say it's out on submission for 6 months, so they buy it, they add it to their list, say 18 months in the future, so that's 3 years from when you sat down and wrote the book, and then another maybe 9 months potentially. So you're looking at 3.5 to 4 years from when you start writing the book to when you get your first tranche of income from it. Now, publishers do things potentially to ease that. So the biggest thing they do is paying an advance. So that means that they will give you some money early on against your royalties. So it's an advance on your royalties. It's money that we're paying you now. So when you sign the contract, for example, but then you won't see any money from the book selling until you've effectively paid back that advance. So if your advance is 5 grand, you get your 5 grand, not usually just in one payment, usually in 2 or 3 payments, one when you sign the contract, one when you deliver your edits, one when the book actually comes out. So that's potentially 5 grand over a year to 18 months. And then the book comes out and you don't see any royalties from sales until you've earned more than £5,000, because you're effectively paying back that advance. So advances make a really big difference because it's some money coming to the author much earlier in the process, but they're then also delaying when you get any further money. So pros and cons, but the big pro obviously is that it's some money up front, and it's some money that your publisher has invested in you early, and they then therefore need to earn that money back. So they're far more likely to put marketing budget into a book that they've paid out an advance on. In the modern world, many publishers don't pay advances at all. So they, particularly in the kind of digital first or the digitally focused sections of the market, they say we don't pay an advance, but we get your book to market quicker, so they'll potentially get your book out in ebook maybe 6 months after you've signed the contract rather than 12 to 18 months after you've signed the contract. And some of them at least say, and we pay royalties quicker. So some at least will pay royalties monthly or at the very least quarterly. Again, there's pros and cons there. Not getting an advance kind of sucks because you're not getting any money up front when you sign the contract. So you've already done all of the work to write the book potentially at this point. You sign the contract, don't see any income at that point, have to wait another 6 months till the book is out, and then another potentially 2 months if it's being paid monthly. It would usually be 2 months after the book's out because payment is in arrears that you start to see some income. Now, my battery is about to die, so we'll just do a little I'll plug my camera in and I'll be right back. So, that delay, whilst you're writing the book first of all, but also once the contract is signed and you're waiting for payment, means that this is genuinely a really difficult thing to do if you don't already have other income. Now, if you have a partner who has a high income and you can stay home and write, then great, you're sorted. If you have money in the bank because you're retired, you had a well-paid job, you have a good pension, okay, great. Writing is a very realistic thing for you to do. However, if you're on low income, if you're working full-time to try and, keep body and soul together, pay rent, buy food, clothe children, all that stuff, writing is a really difficult thing to transition into, because just that payment model of the amount of time from when you start writing a book even to when you finish writing a book and think you have a product that is sellable to when you actually see income from it in a traditional publishing model can be really long. So I saw someone post a question on social media last year, which was, as a writer, if a publisher offered a deal where you have a 18-month contract to deliver, or 12-month contract, or whatever it is, to deliver 2 books, and instead of getting advance and royalties or just royalties, you had a salary, they paid you X amount per month to do that, would you take it? And the responses were really interesting. And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, actually, I think I would. Because one of the things that makes this job the hardest and the most stressful and the most difficult to manage time-wise and mental health-wise is the lack of security of income. Now, that is kind of true for anyone who's self-employed. I'm self-employed in my tutoring business and there is obviously some uncertainty. But there are a lot more levers I can pull there to increase my income, to change what I'm offering, to change my pricing, to change my advertising, all of that stuff I'm in control of. Whereas in traditional publishing model, I'm in control of very few of those things. I'm sort of at the beck and call of the schedule that my publisher wants. Obviously that's a little bit negotiable, but those publication slots are always going to be dictated to an extent by what else is on their list and what else they're publishing. So I'm a bit at the beck and call of their schedule. And also they're the ones who get to decide when I get paid. So as an author, normally if you're self-employed and you sell a product to someone or you sell a license for a product to someone, you kind of dictate the cost, you dictate the terms, you dictate how long the license lasts for. So I didn't have enough battery left. It turned out my battery did die just at the end of that last clip. But I'm kind of towards the end of what I wanted to say anyway. So The way that the publishing industry pays, the way that traditional publishers control the schedule to a large degree, set the rates of payment, obviously that's negotiable, but largely set by the publisher, set the timescales for payment, I think does massively disadvantage authors who don't already have money in the bank. Now, if you don't already have money in the bank, you are disadvantaged compared to people who do in pretty much every area of life. It's just kind of true. Money, it's cliche that money won't make you happy. I kind of don't think it's necessarily true. I definitely think money can ease an awful lot of misery, whether it actually makes you happy or not. And it can certainly ease your path into being a working writer, because it can absolutely ease those lengthy periods of uncertainty and those lengthy periods of not getting paid. So, if you are a publisher and you care about exclusion and inclusion, as all publishers claim to do, there are two things that you should be doing. Number one is you should be paying in advance so that authors get money early in the process. They get money when they sell the book, and then that money is what tides you over while you write the next book, while you do edits on that book, while you wait for the book to be published and actually sell. If you're not going to pay in advance, then pay royalties monthly. There is absolutely no reason that publishers can't do that in a modern computerized electronic age. I got so close to the end there but just didn't quite make it. That is the end of the video though. I really think publishers could make a big difference to the sorts of authors who are able to submit to them and who are able to come into this industry if they, number one, continue to pay proper advances, and if they're not able to do that, paid authors monthly, just so that we see some money for the thing that we work on a little bit earlier in the process. And honestly, I'm kind of still down for the salary plan if anyone feels like putting that into practice. Those are my thoughts for this fortnight. I will be back in 2 weeks' time. If there's anything you'd particularly like me to talk about, please pop it in the comments below. And for now, farewell.